Welcome to another episode on HotCupOfWeb Gaming. I'm Bob Inc., and we're back with Space Engineers, specifically the second public beta test of their economy update that's forthcoming. There was audio recorded for this, but for some reason it didn't take, so I'm recording the voice part post video. So hopefully you enjoy. I'm going to keep on going here. So the first thing I did is I skipped what I did last time, which was trying to establish any kind of setup, and I just went right for the closest faction base, which in this case was the SCMK Secret Makers, who actually specialized in making ships, which was great because I wanted the first purchase to be a ship from a station. When the with the public beta here, you start with 1,000,000 credits. I don't know if you will always start with 1,000,000 credits once it goes live, but 1,000,000 credits is enough to get you either a land-based vehicle or a air-based vehicle. And they got some interesting options. Right now, I'm just exploring the base a little bit. The bases, I always find the bases to be kind of interesting. They left all the screens blank. I kind of wish there'd be something on them, but maybe there will be once it all comes out. Maybe faction logos or something like that. I found a little crew quarter patio, some armories here, a couple of toilets. None of the armories have anything in them. I don't know if they should. They've got a gravity generator and the upper deck here. There's another crew quarter, office, and a little armory and a bed and stuff in there. So yeah, for this one, I kind of want to show more of the economy update stuff. So like I said, I wanted to start by buying a ship from a station, and I got lucky and I started next to a ship selling faction. And then I'm also going to go through some of the contracts and actually go through to them to completion again. So here's the list of all the different vehicles that they have for sale. We end up settling on the Solar Scout because it's within our $1,000,000 range. And the thing to look for is they all were atmosphere ships except for one, that Ion Fade. That one appeared to be only ion thrusters, which on the planet here would serve you no purpose because it would just smash to the ground. So eventually I settle on the Solar Scout because it's just under $1,000,000 and it gave us a vehicle to go perform the actions that we needed to perform to a degree. So let's buy the Solar Scout already, and we can move on to getting our first contract. There's a few types of contracts. There's collection contracts where you just collect a resource or item of some kind with varying payments. Well, acquisition contract actually. And then there's search contracts where you're given a beacon and a range, and you go to the beacon and you have to search the area within the range given to find a little blinky light. Once you find the light and walk up next to it, it pops and it completes the mission for you. For the acquisition ones that we're doing here, you actually have to bring the material back to the base. So in this case, an oxygen bottle, which I thought it just wanted one oxygen bottle. It actually wanted 42 of them. So I could not complete the mission. You have to there's two ways to deposit the items for completion. You have to have them in your personal inventory when you hit finish and you select your character inventory, or you have to connect a ship with connectors. Just having a ship in the area doesn't count. It actually has to be connected to the base. A lesson that we learn later. So here I find a acquisition contract that didn't seem too difficult. It was to bring 127 iron ignits to back to the base here. So I accept that mission and I go get in our new ship that we purchased, the Solar Scout. You can see it over here. There's a few atmospheric thrusters, a Gatling gun with a giant solar panel on top of and forming most of the body. It's actually a decent little ship. You do have to stop and let it recharge for a while after flying it. You get about half hour, 40 minutes of flying time with it, as is. I do end up modifying it and greatly reducing that flying time. So I fly back to the respawn pod because we need access to the survival kit so we can turn stone into iron to bring that iron back to the SCMK station to complete the contract. So here we are flying back. We ended up in an area that's got some nice visuals with the mountains and some of the valleys and what have you. But so we pop back at the respawn pod, so I land us down there. Something I learned about the scout ship is, and the acquisition missions actually, is you need to make sure you have a ship that can carry it all, because you either need to be able to carry all of the items on your person or all of the items in your ship without you in it. I kind of hope that they add it so that you can split the difference, say half on the ship, half on you if your ship can't hold it all. But I can understand why they don't, and you just have to plan accordingly, which is fine. Obviously, a scout ship wasn't the best ship to be using as a cargo hauler to a certain extent. So here he's spending time collecting stone. Gonna pop the stone into the survival kit. Let the survival kit turn into ingots. Really only want the iron ingots because that's what we need to bring back. I wasn't looking to really produce anything if I didn't have to, because I'm just here to play with the new features, specifically the contract features and the ship purchasing features, of which we're doing both so far. So I got a load of stone in, and then obviously it's the drone of going back and forth collecting the stone until you have the right number of iron. I don't believe it takes too long. We only had to get like 120 something iron. Now I was looking for a way to view my current mission, and I swear there's a way you could do it, but for the life of me I could not find it. So that's something I'm going to have to look into, is how to find and display what your current active missions are, because I like to forget the number or misremember it by 100 or so, which means I'm either bringing more or not enough to complete the missions. But so here we are getting more stone, collecting stone. Players of the game know how that goes. You spend the first half of your game, half your time in the first half of your game collecting stone until you can get enough of the basic elements to slowly upgrade and develop a basic base with a better refinery and better assemblers. So I have enough iron in the survival kit right now So what I do is, I believe I grab one more batch of stone, and then I grab all of the ingots out of the survival kit and bring them with us, because I figured if there was another contract that wanted one of the basic uh, metals, I could have some on me already and maybe complete a second contract without having to walk away from the station.
Inventory full.
But so here we go. I pop up, I throw some more stone in there. Didn't hurt, doesn't hurt to put it in there. I mean, if you're gonna long play the game, obviously. But we were short playing the game, so I wasn't really looking to. Like I said, I wasn't looking to produce a ton of things or stations or anything by that means. So we got the stone refined, so we'll go ahead, once it finishes here, and grab the ingots out of there. Had plenty, obviously, had 300 and some iron. I only needed 100 and, what was it, 175, 165 of them. Actually, no, I think it was 127 of them. But it didn't take much to carry it all, so I just grabbed it all, refilled the bottles, and popped back into our Solar Scout. And then admire the planet with the moon in the distance there, and pop in the ship and head over back to the SCMK station. I don't know why that's such a struggle for me to remember or to say it right. So we come back to the station. One thing I learned about the Solar Scout is it does not stop very well at full speed. I end up flying past the station. That's why we're facing the wrong direction here. But so I land the Scout, and then to complete the mission, like I said before, you have to either have all of the required material on your person or in your ship, and your ship has to be connected to the connectors, to a connector, one of any of the connectors. You cannot have half on your person and half in your ship. The game can't take them out from two places, and you can't deposit anything in the connectors, so you can't bring, say, like 10 items at a time and drop them in as you make them. It doesn't work that way either. But so you go in, you click accepted contract, you click finish, you select the inventory that the items are in, and if you have it, then you're given the cash and congratulated for completing the mission. Now I was looking at doing some of the hauling missions, but the distance they wanted me to travel was extremely far. That one is 27,000 kilometers away. And since I didn't have a ship that could go into space, that wasn't really an option of taking that contract. So the search contracts are not bad. I mean, you get between 30 and 50, I'll say between 30 and 60,000 space credits, depending on which one. There didn't really appear to be a lot of difference between them. The acquisitions can get kind of crazy. I mean, it depends on what item they want. Obviously, there's this one here that I end up taking. It's worth $1 million, and all you do is produce 865 steel plates. In the early game, like we're at now, it does actually take a decent amount of time and stone to acquire that, but for 1 million credits, that's about as simple of a task as it gets. I mean, you didn't have to build anything extra to produce it. I did learn that the Solar Scout is not made to hold that much, and I do ultimately learn the lesson that the ship has to connect to the station to be able to count as carrying the load to finish the contract. So I accepted the contract for $1 million or space credits, and I go back to the Solar Scout because we got to head back to the survival kit again, the respawn pod, and start collecting more stone and start producing a bunch of steel plates. So we head out and we're heading back to the respawn pod. And on the way back, I tilt the ship a little bit to catch the sun. You see the solar panel is only at 1 star. I was tilting it to increase it until we got over here I flew past the respawn pod and grabbed a unknown signal. I figure, why not? It's a source of some free plates to get started with. Now I know they're small ships or small blocks, so it's only 1 plate per block. But hey, any plate is more plates than I have to actually manufacture, so it's a win in my book. Plus, when I hit the button, you get something for free. In this case, it was the leopard welder skin. Woo! Plus, you get all these other parts, of which have some steel plates. I believe I end up with about 60 steel plates, plus there were plates in the cargo container, as well as 717 space credits. To deposit the space credits into your virtual bank account, that has to be done at the store block at a station, or if you have build your own store block, I suppose you could do it from there as well. And all you do is have them in your inventory, and you click deposit at the bottom, and they end up in your space account. So I grind up the little probe again, like I said, collecting all the steel plates that it was worth, which turned out to be 62 steel plates. So that's 62 less out of the 800 and something that I have to make. And I didn't have to go too far out of my way to do it. About a little over 2.5 kilometers from the respawn pod. So we end up popping back over to the respawn pod and then going to town collecting stone. Because we needed it to get the iron to produce the steel plates. I'd say one thing I didn't like about the Solar Scout is the foot on the bottom is the same level as the nose. So when you came in for a landing, especially on these inclines, you had to make sure to tip the nose up. Otherwise, you'd hit nose first into the ground there. And then I threw the battery into recharge to collect any recharge you could from the sun. Because again, the whole ship just runs on the battery and the solar panel to recharge it. So I throw the scrap on the ground, and I throw the collected ingots into the survival kit, and I fire off about 900 plates, and then I go to town collecting stone now. Got a nice hole started, and kind of widen it up a little bit so I didn't have any troubles getting in and out of there. It's one thing I wish they'd tweak a little bit is the excuse me, is the mining tool here, the mining drill. I wish it would connect to the ground a little better. Like when you drill down, you have to crouch down to touch the ground, which I'm okay with that. But even then, when you're touching the ground, it struggles at times to stay straight down. You kind of seem to have to move it around a lot to be able to keep hitting the voxels of the ground. And then when you go forward, you would think it would drill forward better, but you always end up drilling at an angle, either a slight upward or a slight downward angle, because it doesn't seem to drill like in the middle of your body to create a hole. I don't know. Maybe they're petty complaints, but so I deposit all of my items into the ship for right now. because I wanted to be able to carry as much stone as possible on my person, because then that's that many fewer trips I'd have to take back to the survival kit. So I start depositing stone, and then I realized I got an improved mining drill from that drop pod. So I grabbed that guy, and then we go back to drilling a nice little tunnel. All for collecting stone. Lots and lots of stone. Yeah, I got a decent amount of pebbles on the ground there, so I was able to do 2 trips every time. The slow part was waiting for the survival kit to catch up, because you couldn't deposit all of the stone in at the same time, because the survival kit only holds about, well, I think it's like 3K, maybe 2.75 at a time. So I deposited the stone, popped back down, grabbed another load. I was considering trying to put a drill on the respawn pod and just kind of letting it drill down, but the problem with that is it was sitting on ice, and sometimes you never know how deep the ice goes, and then you end up in a vicious cycle of building more and more items to just get stone, which requires more stone, and by the time I was done, I had enough stone just to make the blocks I needed. So I took and threw gravel out on the ground every so often from the survival kit, just to make sure there was always enough room to add more of the ignits and the steel plates. And then back to collecting more stone. Stone's the name of the game for this contract. So we got more drilling done. Like I said, we're developing a nice little tunnel here full of stone pellets. Would have been nice if I would have been on an iron deposit, because then I probably could have got there a lot faster. The problem is the survival kit doesn't process ores. It only processes stone. It'd be nice if it would process even if it only processed iron, that would be nice. But I suppose, well, I mean, you have the basic assembler that does the couple of the basics here, the nickel, silicon, iron. I think it does cobalt as well. So I don't know why the survival kit can't process. It should be able to at least process iron ore at a minimum, and stone. I don't think that throws it too far out of balance, because it's not like you start on top of iron ore very often, or that it's even that easy to find with just your hand drill anymore. Sometimes the ores are a little harder to find with your hand drill, because they're buried so deeper in the ground than your drill can see. So it's kind of a guessing game when you see the surface markers on what ore is going to be down in the ground. But here we are, bringing more stone back. Again, throwing out more gravel, putting in more stone, waiting for it to refine, recharging our energy. There's not a whole lot. Oh, well, I mean, there's a decent amount added in the economy setup, but some of it I can't test in the single player, because there is player trading, so you are supposed to be able to walk up to another player and initiate a trade, provided both parties agree to trade. And you can do random trading. There's no forced trading. You can offer up whatever you want in your inventory, and they can either accept or decline, or and then there's the contracts, and then there's the stations. The stations are scattered throughout the solar system, in space and on the planets. Depending on what faction they are, I believe, depends on what kind of things they have. There's ones like we found here that sell vehicles. There's ones that sell gases and materials and things like that. There's ones that sell completed components. And again, all that varies depending on the faction that owns the station.
Inventory.
So here I'm gathering more stone, bringing it back. Working our way towards the 800 and some steel plates. We got 100 and something in there. It collected a little ice to throw in the O2 generator because I was using up the ice refilling the bottles and stuff. Throw out some more gravel, throw in some more stone, and then back for another load. Again, this went on for a while here. I do come up to a cut here. Probably should have cut earlier, but since I lost the voice, I know I was talking about all kinds of things. Hopefully I have this fixed for the next one. It turned out to be my own fault, so that's the catch with getting a new microphone, is it plays differently than the last one you use a lot of times. So, but here we are collecting more stone as before. So collect stone, deposit stone, throw more gravel on the ground. Collect more iron, make more plates. You guys know the drill. So, I don't know if any of you guys play Grand Theft Auto still. I'm sure some of you do. I finally went back in and played that here after a while. I haven't played it since probably since the original Heist update. They finally opened the casino. I've been waiting for the casino since day one. Since it said opening soon, I thought that actually meant soon, not 5 years later. But the thing I was excited for is that it was a horse track casino, and I'm a big horse racing fan. So the fact that they did actually add horse betting into the casino, I was pretty excited about that. So I went in there and I managed to score 300,000 in horse winnings in just a few minutes, which was pretty cool. It seems kind of random though, but I got lucky picking the right ones and made a bunch of cash, so that was awesome. They got 3-card poker, blackjack, and a bunch of slot machines in there, and it's kind of fun. So I might get back into playing that a little bit. We'll see. I don't know if I'll put it on the channel. Maybe down the road, but it was fun. If you haven't played in a while, I suggest you go check it out. I know they got all kinds of crazy vehicles and stuff now, but those have never been... The weird group mission stuff's never been my style of play. I don't like playing those kind of things. It's like I don't mind playing Space Engineers with other people, but I hate the PvP aspect of online play, multiplayer. To me, it just destroys a lot of the games because people just purposely go out of their way to just destroy everything. They don't try to actually play the game. But that's enough of my rambling. So I had to put some cargo containers on the sides of the ship to carry all of the steel plates after we produced them, because they wouldn't fit in the cockpit of my inventory. And now comes the harsh lesson in reality and running back and forth when I realized that I couldn't complete the mission with the ship I had because I couldn't fit all the steel plates. I currently have like 300 steel plates in my person, and like 400 steel plates or so in the ship. And I kind of was hoping that by just having them in the bubble in the safety zone would allow me to deposit them, but that did not come to be true. And then it was really weird because what I did next is I tried to put some pipes on those small. First, I cut the bottom of the ship off and I slipped a connector on there, and then I piped the small cargo boxes into. Here I'm checking the different connectors to see if I can deposit into any of them by hand, and it doesn't let you. But so what I did is I put a connector on the bottom and I piped the small containers into it, but for some reason the small cargo containers would not function properly. You could only directly access them. It wouldn't slide the cargo through once I actually connected it. So in the end, what I ended up doing is slapping a medium cargo box and a connector on the bottom and making the scout ship too heavy, so I had to throw thrusters on it. All of which was done with the admin controls, so I didn't have to spend an hour collecting and finding cobalt and refining all that stuff. So just put that out there. I was just trying to complete the contract because I didn't understand why. Well, first I couldn't understand why I'm putting the connector on and connecting the ship wouldn't work. But I also learned that you cannot recharge your ships from the stations. The batteries, anyways. If you put a battery into recharge while connected to the station, here I throw the plates on the ground, hoping that if I just have all the plates on the ground and in my inventory, that will count. And I was wrong about that as well. And I forgot what I was just talking about. Oh yeah, so recharging your batteries. So you can't recharge your batteries at a station. If you put your ship into recharge while connected to the station, it just turns the ship off and you lose the connector. The connector dumps you when you do that. And even if you stay connected to the station, your battery doesn't charge. It just sits there and slowly drains. So here we go. Here's my first try. I put the tubes and a connector on there. But again, for some reason, the tubes, which were green and were connected to the connector pod there, they would not transfer, which was really weird. But like I said, I put a medium cargo on there and a connector and was able to finally dump it. But yeah, so I'll call it an episode here. Thanks again. I'm Bob Inc., and this is HotCupOfWeb Gaming, and I hope you enjoyed this episode of Space Engineers Public Beta Release 2. If you like the videos on the channel, make sure you subscribe and hit the notification button to be notified when new videos come out. And I'm probably going to put out another public beta video here, so I'll have 2 for this go around, and you hope to check them out. And we'll catch you in the next video. See you later.